Well, my mission is not so much to look at specific criticisms. No one has submitted a bill of particulars, and no one has submitted concrete, definite evidence as to violations or alleged violations of federal law or OEO policies or OEO regulations, and that's not my purpose in being here. My purpose in being here is to preliminarily look into some of the statements and some of the allegations that have been made to determine what course of conduct the Office of Legal Services and the Office of OEO should be involved in the next week or the next several months.
The main effect that educating police officers will have is that it will give them more of an awareness of the environment in which they have to operate. I think it will give society a better appreciation of the skills required by a police officer. This goes back as late as the early 1930s in the Wickersham Commission, when it was determined that a police officer requires over 3,000 different skills in order to perform effectively. I think the image society has had of the police officer, of the so-called dumb cop, has to be dispelled. There is no such thing as a dumb cop. These officers that have gone into school have proved very quickly that they are articulate, astute learners, that they are aware of the need for upgrading the criminal justice profession. A more professionalized criminal justice system will mean better handling of the crime problem.
Well, the Board of Regents very carefully considered the hearing before the President's Cabinet at the university. They considered the memorandum of law that was presented to the Regents by Mrs. Duke's attorney. They considered the statements of both of Ms. Duke's attorney, Ms. Demarest and Mr. Cloutman. We had a statement, Mrs. Duke herself made a statement, if you were there. And we considered all of those things and unanimously voted to affirm the findings of the President's Cabinet.
I plan to continue to live here in this town and just be a part of a whole new society that's coming up right now.
What will it be like?
Well, I think we're already starting to work on it. We're trying.
The usual protest demonstration at UTA attracts maybe 300 to 400 students. One demonstration that's current here on the campus is one involving better than 8,000 students, which is a pretty good representative sample of the student population. Courtney Roberts has a bundle of some of 8,000 petitions that are signed and are to be sent to Governor Smith and the members of the Texas legislature protesting the increase in tuition rates at the University of Texas system. Why did you start this particular movement, and why did it grow so fast in the last 3 or 4 days?
At UT Arlington alone, the increase in tuition cost for next year with the same student level that we have now would be $2.25 million approximately. That's additional cost for students that are going to UTA. There was no other organization on campus, including the student government, which proposed to take any action to let the legislature know how the students and the people of the community felt about the proposed tuition increase. So we took it upon ourselves to just start talking to people about it, and it turned into just a snowball.
So there it is. The word relevance has acquired a new meaning. Perhaps to have something relevant, you've got to consider the students, you've got to consider their interests and their needs. To find something relevant, perhaps you need to talk about money it's going to cost them. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move at the University of Texas at Arlington.
Well, Texas has got a good basketball team, Jerry. They've suffered some misfortunes this year. They had a couple of real good basketball players that got hurt early in the year. They seemed to overcome this, and they were playing real well at one time. As it is now, they've lost 2 or 3 games in a row. But, you know, once you hit the bottom, you start back up. And so I know we'll have a real tough game with Texas here. It's a big game for us. It's kind of a must-win. And I would like to appeal to the people of Fort Worth who are Frog fans to get out here Saturday at 2:30 and see the Frogs play.
At the Hyatt House on Dallas Stemmons Freeway, the Platters are appearing at the Regents Room through tomorrow night. But how can you, the potential customer, be sure you are seeing the real group? According to a recent article in Variety magazine, there are 6 groups of Platters touring the country, 4 of the Drifters, 2 Shirelles, 2 Coasters, and the list goes on and on. But when it comes to this group, you can be sure when you attach the name Buck Ram. He is the originator, he is the musical director, he is the writer of 15 gold records. But this is a worldwide problem. That is, imitating well-known groups. We talked to Buck Ram today about this problem.
It's organized only in the sense that the unscrupulous operators willing to make a fast buck will book anybody. In fact, some of the operators just throw 4 or 5 people together and call them the ink spots or the Platters. We met a group in New York City that one week they were the Platters, another week they were the ink spots, another week they were the Drifters.
Well, what about the clubs that book these people?
Well, the legitimate clubs, such as I might say the Hyatt House that we're working at presently, do some careful screening, but the others don't care, because as long as it brings the people in, and as long as they're not stopped, and they're here for such limited engagements, it's almost impossible to stop them.
Mr. Ram also told me his group lost about $200,000 in revenues last year alone to other groups calling themselves the Platters. We'll talk about this problem, the recording industry, entertainment in Dallas-Fort Worth, and whether or not organized crime has a bearing on future reports. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
We're expecting 250 to 300 juniors from throughout the state.
And how many seniors?
We're expecting around 150 to 200 seniors.
Would you please explain the exercises going on here?
Okay, now the boy that's doing the throw is Chris Short. He's 9 years old, and his opponent is Bobby Tamura. He's 11 years old. And he's going into the Morote Seonaga. It's a form of a shoulder throw. It's one of his favorite throws.
Over here, who do we have?
Here's the little one is Mark Thedford, and the big one that just went over is Rocky Hetley. And he's also doing the Morote Seonaga. That's one of his favorite throws. He's won many tournaments with that.
We have a couple of older youngsters on the far right.
Okay, the little one there is David Tamura. He's another one of my son there. He's 12 years old, and his opponent is Mike Marcotte. And he just got through doing the body drop throw.
How many junior students do you have in your studios, Vince?
Oh, we must have around 200 here.
Do you feel that judo is an outstanding item for a youngster to take up?
Oh, yes.
How many hours a week do they have to participate in order to excel?
These boys will come in here at least 2 to 3 times a week, and they're working out 3 to 4 hours a day.
Well, I came here last year for about 15 days. I went to race in Vail. We had a professional race there, and that's my second year almost that I came here.
How much actual amateur competition had you done? I would guess that you've probably been skiing most of your life in Italy.
Well, yes. I studied until I was 18, then I started racing, and I was in the Italian national team for about 8 years. I quit last year and then I came over to join the professional races.
Has it been difficult for you to make the transition from a native European to come to the States and live?
Well, not so difficult. I think it's almost the same as being an amateur. The only reason is that here we get paid if you do well. In the amateurs you don't.
I understand from Billy that you did well at the most recent meet, finishing second. Is that correct?
Well, yes, I did well in bowling. I wasn't in shape before, and now I'm getting a little bit better.
Do you have a specialty? Are you best in the downhill, or perhaps the giant slalom or the slalom? Which particular event do you like best?
I don't like giant. I prefer downhill and slalom. I do best in slalom, though. I do my best race is slalom.
Dallas health officials report an increase of between 300% and 400% in the number of red measles cases reported in Dallas schools. This was a period of last week as compared to the same period last year. The last time this happened was about 3 or 4 years ago. The city public health director, Dr. Hal Dewlett, told me that the communicable time of the virus disease is from 4 to 5 days, but the actual disease itself lasts from 2 to 3 weeks. Dr. Dewlett said the primary symptoms of red measles are very similar to those of a common cold.
Symptoms of red measles are first, it starts with a fever, redness of the eye, runny nose, cough definitely, and beyond that, any other complication that may occur will have its own symptoms.
Who should be inoculated?
Well, red measles is a disease of an infectious disease of childhood. At the present time, since we have a red measles vaccine, we recommend that children from the age of 1 year up, if they have not had any red measles, should be inoculated.
This outbreak does not appear to be heading toward epidemic proportions because most children have been inoculated against red measles. However, Dr. Dewlett added that because this is basically a common childhood disease, many cases are just simply not reported. Jerry Park for Channel 8 News on the Move.
Well, of course, the first thing is to keep this thing from happening, and that is to have the checks and balances that a two-party system or a two-party state offers. You need to have people to check in and check out and make sure this type inbreeding and incestuous type deal that's gone on for years doesn't continue. As far as what they should do about it now, I think there should be some committees to look into this thing and investigate it seriously, and not just make the motions to try to satisfy the electorate, which it's not doing, I can tell you.
Are you saying that the committees which are set up now in the state legislature are not doing an effective job?
Well, I count on the news media to keep me posted, because I am not privy to Democratic circles, and certainly I haven't seen any positive results that any of you folks have come up with.
Academic assistance, have the goals of the program changed along with that crime rate?